He's the owner and creator of Grassroots Powdersurfing, his way of giving something back to the mountain culture. Ladies and gentlemen, Jeremy Jensen. How you doing,
Oh,
Jeremy?
I'm doing well. How are you?
All right, doing pretty good. Thanks for coming on the show, man.
Oh, you bet.
All right. So, 2007, you got an itch in your craw to create a powder surf. What was your motivation?
Oh, just fun. Uh, I just been screwing around on, snowboards without bindings for quite a few years. Uh, since the late 90s, we would just kind of stand in between our bindings. And then sometimes early season, we would just take the bindings off and cut down old snowboards and just ride them in the early season because there really wasn't enough snow to like jump off things, cliffs, and hit jumps and do the things we like to do on our snowboards. So that was just kind of something to pass the early season times. And we loved riding powder. So riding powder was obviously super fun, but to go, hike up and strap into a snowboard and just kind of take these mellow pow lines just wasn't quite scratching the itch that we had. And so just more and more, I was playing around with just no bindings on snowboards and which worked, not so great, of course. But and then I was also, involved with snow skating. Like the Bideck snow skates were super fun. Like in 2000, I got my first snow skate, I think in 2000.
Do you remember the brand?
It was a Burton junkyard.
Oh, it was. Okay.
I still have it. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, there was that bit of motivation too, but like I really liked riding powder just from all the years of snowboarding. That was what kept me snowboarding. I liked to ride big lines, cliff drops, build giant booters in the backcountry and such, but it was all like based around powder, like which brought us into the backcountry all the time. And right. So I was just kind of trying to blend those things. I enjoyed snow skating a lot because I grew up skateboarding and always obsessed with surfing since I was just a little boy. And so I just kind of brought all those things together and just started making some boards on my own. And they immediately worked so much better than the snowboards we'd been cutting up. Those just became a joke. We just kind of tossed those aside and started writing the prototypes that we were pressing and shaping on our own. And so it just took off from there. It was just so much fun. Couldn't get enough of it, really. We, for years we were kind of just still doing our snowboard thing, building kickers, and we'd be filming ourselves. We'd make these little videos. Me and my crew would. We called ourselves the Powder Day Saints. There we go. It was kind of a play on where we're from. We're from Utah, and so there's a lot of LDS Mormon culture that we live in and we were brought up in. And so we were like, instead of the Latter-day Saints, we were the Powder Day Saints. Yeah. Because that's kind of what like drove us, to go ride, was like we just loved to ride powder. We loved to ride fresh lines. We loved to hit booters into fresh landings and drop cliffs and just, cut lines. So the Powder Day Saints, we would be hitting our booters, and then in between jumps, we'd hop on a Powsurf and ride down to the camera and take our turn on the camera. And so it started out just a lot of like little teeny slopes, but it was super fun, and when it was someone else's turn to hit the jump, maybe you were over to the side hiking and doing a couple Powsurf runs, a little short, a couple 100-foot vert or whatever, while your buddy was hitting the kicker, and then you'd go take your turn and hit the kicker. And, just kind of got to where we were bringing those up with us every time we would go, because they were just so fun, and
yeah, it does sound fun.
So that's what really got us hooked on it. It was all the early season stuff, and then in between hitting jumps in the backcountry, it was just like another way to challenge ourselves, without having to send it 70 feet. It was still a challenge for us just to stay on, just to turn, just to do little shove-its and ollies and things. And so that's what kind of lit the fire, and I've just been cruising ever since.
Very cool. Very cool. And that's the keeping the soul, keeping it from the soul. And
I mean, it was always so much fun. That was the whole motivation, was fun from the beginning. Like, you know, these things were so hard to make. Like, after we've been doing it a couple of years, we talked with each other. We're like, oh, should we make these? Like, should we show the public like what we're doing? Like, we're having so much fun. You know, like, should we do this? Should we like make a company out of this and sell these, you know, and make it into a thing? And it was like so difficult to make them that we're just looking at each other like, hell no. Like, it's so hard just to make one for myself. Like, there's no way I want to spend, you know, that many hours making it just to sell it, because you would have had to have sold them for, you know, $700-800 at least to cover like all your time and materials and everything. And so,
and then you'd be out. One.
Yeah. I mean, we'd still keep our personal quivers, of course, but yeah, to make them for the public, it seemed like a really daunting task. And all of us already had, you know, jobs and everything. And so it was kind of a tough thing to go ahead and start doing. Like, but once I released one of the videos, I think it was called Powsurfing with the Powder Day Saints, I think. It's just like a little 3-minute short video forever ago that we released. Once that got out and people started seeing it, you know, I figured out we better do this. You know, we better start a company and better start making them, or else someone else is just going to snake us and, you know, steal our idea or whatever. So I just streamlined the process and figured out some different ways to build some new presses and just get a workflow that was actually workable and doable, and be able to keep, you know, prices affordable for people. And so that's what started the business of Grassroots Powsurfing. That was its genesis, I guess.
When I get the grassroots part and the
we called it Grassroots because it was, well, for one, I had a skateboard company already that we would do skate decks and kind of distribute around the West, mostly, you know, just a handful of shops. It was like a hobby company sort of thing. I used it in my schooling, you know, as kind of like a pet project for some of the design stuff I was doing. So I was going to school for graphic design. You know, our whole intention with that was just to make a little bit of money so that we could go on a couple skate tours together. Just go on like skate park tours. Yeah. Which we did. I mean, it never made any money. It lost, you know, a couple $1,000 or something, probably all in all, but it kept us all in skateboards, and we were able to form a team and kind of regrow our community. Skateboarding was kind of dying in our town here in Logan. And so that helped get younger kids stoked, you know, because there was a skateboard company and a skateboard team, you know, and so it kind of lit the fire and got our skate community rocking again, which was cool. So that was worth whatever money we lost anyways, just to, you know, get a little culture back into the valley. Yeah. So anyways, yeah, Grassroots, I'd started as a skateboard company, and it was like me and 5 of my buddies. So it was like, you know, our thought was like a whole bunch of hands, a whole bunch of people with a similar goal. It's like a grassroots movement. Yeah. And it's, you know, growing itself organically. You know, we feed it a little bit, and you know, everybody's contributions come together for the greater good and make something out of it. And so it was just an extension of that. When I was doing the skateboard company, like, I was always way into snowboarding. I was a competitive snowboarder and everything. And so I always wanted it to be the snow company, but I could never afford to make snowboards. You know, that was way beyond, you know, we're super, super poor. None of us had any money. You know, it was just a passion project, of course. So making snowboards was not even an option in my book. So, but we started having, you know, so much fun with our pow surfers that I was like, all right, Grassroots Powsurfing, that's what it's going to be. And that's what it turned into.
So you're the guy behind the graphics then?
Some of them, yeah. I mean, today I did most of them in the beginning. You know, like I did this one. I did, you know, 3 or 4 other ones in the beginning. Most of them were just paintings. I painted the bottom of the board, and then I'd just taken a photograph more or less, and doctored it up a little bit and formatted it to be sublimated onto a PTEX base. Gotcha. So that's how the originals. I mean, the original prototypes were just painted wood,
Yeah.
varnished over it or whatever, so it turned a little yellow or whatever. But the original, the first 10 boards or so I made were just hand painted, and then I started making PTEX bases because we were just blowing the wood ones to pieces. Like you would hit a rock and it was just boom. You couldn't really repair rock damage, and we live in the Rocky Mountains, so there's lots of rocks, tree stumps and stuff. So it's pretty difficult to fix a wooden board when you got a core shot or a big scrape down it, or sometimes they would just straight crack. So
Are there any of the
the PTEX base, like I started making all of my own personal boards with the PTEX base. And it took me a year or two before I started offering that to the public, because just that was such a pain in my ass too to make with the PTEX. And so I think the first year that we were in business, I think I just did wood-based boards. And then the second year, I'm pretty sure I offered PTEX as well. And kind of ever since we've done mostly PTEX bases. Like I'll do a few wood ones for fun, but it's like, they're just not durable, like a wooden base just explodes, and then you're out of Powsurfer. So it's like the PTEX, you can fix it real easy, just like a snowboard. You can, if you do have, blow out the sidewall or something hitting a rock, it's much easier to repair and fix, and the things will live forever. So
yeah, I love your website, man. Powsurf.com. It's just, I love the layout, and it was really easy to find. It's not very often you actually go on a website and you're like, man, I enjoy being on this website. It's the layout is easy to find what you're looking for.
Nice.
I did have a question about the 3D base. So what the advantages, disadvantages of 3D
sure.
base?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for the props on the website. I've made it myself. Like basically the whole, everything in Grassroots I've made myself, from the boards, all the photography in the website, the videos, most of the shooting, even the still photography is done with remote triggers, myself and a handful of friends. And so, all that is it's just an extension of the skills I've taught myself over the years.
Yeah.
So I get stoked anyway. If people go to the website and it actually works well for them, and it's a good trip for them, then yeah, that stokes me out. So thanks. But yeah, the 3D base stuff, there's a lot of advantages really. So the first few years, the original boards that I crafted on my own in the very beginning had 3D bases. We'd have various channels. We were experimenting with fins, extruding in, and convex and concaves, all sorts of different stuff. And we were actually carving that into the wood. And so to replicate that on a large scale for people to sell these was just not in the cards. We would have to sell them for so much. Yeah, and literally we were working with hand tools, like no joke. It was, I think I had a jigsaw. I think was the only tool I had. Everything else was literally, hand sanding and hand finishing and everything. So it was wild those first few years, and just a ton of work. But yeah, so we started off with 3D bases. And then when it came to production, we're like, well, we got to do these flat, or there's no way people are going to afford, no one's going to want to pay $800 for a Powsurfer, because they don't even know what a Powsurfer is.
Right.
It's the smallest little niche in the world. And maybe they'd seen a couple of our videos or something. And, in the beginning, people would see those and they'd be like, oh, that must be a lot of fun on really easy slopes and in pure powder, which just isn't the case. Like you can ride them in steep, gnarly slopes with just a little bit of powder. So it's funny to see people's, what people would take from it and what they would believe. And some people didn't even believe it was real for quite a while. They thought we were tricking them or something. But anyways, so yeah, those flat.
Scheme.
What's that?
I had a pyramid scheme.
Pyramid scheme. Yeah, it's some sort of scheme, which I've seen some people actually try, but not us. We've been legit since day one. And
that's awesome.
And so yeah, the 3D base was always with us, but we ended up doing flat base, just similar to a snowboard base, for probably 4 or 5 years. just because that's what we could reproduce. You know, we just weren't able to carve the bases and sell them for a price that people would pay. So we went to flat bases, and you know, we showed the world how well we could make that work too, because you know, just given the outlines and the profiles with just a flat base. So we did that for quite a while, and then I figured out some different ways to mold the 3D bases to where they would work. A number of different 3D bases, really. There was 3 different styles, and there still is 2 different styles that I use today, and there's a couple more that I just prototype with.
Okay.
But yeah, those add just a lot of precision control. You know, it makes your turns that much tighter and the board that much more responsive to your quick movements, especially your toe and heel basic movements, like kind of like what turns your skateboard more or less. You know, you can pretty much weight the toes, weight the heels, and your skateboard is going like this, right? So that 3D base helps a lot with that type of control. Instead of actually like leaning with your toes and then putting your whole body into it like you needed to with the flat base, you could just tilt it a little bit and away you go. So it really helped with precision control in the turns, and then it helped a lot when you got on packed out slopes or groomed slopes, or even just hit like some variable stuff that was maybe wind blown or crusted from the sun or something. It would still allow you to hold an edge through that stuff.
Oh, that's key.
And it also works as you know, it adds float to the board as well.
Okay.
Because it's channeling the snow. Basically, you've got a convex nose that's kind of spoon shaped, and so the snow is coming around that, and then it's getting caught in the 2 concave channels. So it's like kind of moving the snow and pushing it through and getting caught in the board, and that's actually creating lift through the base of the board, through the waist and the tail of it. So it actually creates more lift once you get up to speed.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it helps a lot with control, a lot with float, and it makes the boards stronger also, and it transfers your power quite a bit better as well, because your board is more torsionally stiff. So a lot of your power comes from your back foot, and so that allows that energy transfer to go all the way up the board.
Wow.
So yeah, the 3D base helped a lot with precision control and just getting through variable snow, and yeah, it just made the boards that much more aggressive, and the progression and the riding just helped that go even further. So
yeah, I'm glad I asked you about that. That's eye-opening, because I was curious, because I noticed a lot of them were flat, and then
yeah, back in the day we were flat, and that was just because, you know, I didn't have the time to carve 3-dimensional bases into these boards, you know, and there wasn't even that many because we weren't selling that many really. But you know, I work a full-time job. I've got a family, you know, like I can't just throw, I don't have time, you know. I mean, Grassroots, it grew how it was able to grow, you know. It was, I grew it really slow, organically. You know, I bought enough wood to make 3 boards, I think, in the beginning. And as soon as 1 or 2 of those boards were sold, that was the money to go buy more materials and make more. And so it literally, you know, I've never taken out a loan, never said yes to an investor or anything like that. It's just grown organically on its own since the very beginning. So
Grassroots.
Yep. Yeah. And so it's strong, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, part of the thing about Grassroots is it's you know, it's strong because it's grown that way. It's not, you know, we didn't just get like, you know, somebody's rich dad gave us some money or something, or, you know, and we were able to just blow it up and, you know, throw all this advertising. It totally did not happen like that. It happened like, started, you know, in the heart and in the soul, and gradually more and more people find out about it, and it spreads and it spreads, and it, you know, it remains a really strong foundation because it was, you know, built from the beginning like that.
Right. And you're invested, most importantly.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, I mean, it's my heart and soul, you know, like I poured myself into this for it's been 13 years now since I started the company. And yeah, it's been, I mean, before that, Powsurfing didn't exist, you know, the word didn't exist. the genre or whatever you want to call it didn't exist. You know, there was nothing for me to copy, you know. I was just on my own, experimenting and doing my own thing, and this is what's come of it, you know. This many years later, now we've got, you know, snowboard companies making them, you know, like Jones Snowboards and Burton, you know. I mean, they're kind of the equivalent of, you know, posers back in the day. I don't know if you skateboard, but back in the day, it's like there was those people who like showed up at the mall with their skateboard or whatever, you know, but they didn't actually ride it, kind of thing. They were kind of doing it because it was like, it was what was hip, or it was like trending or whatever.
Well,
and so since we've created this, you know, this genre, you've got these companies that are just trying to get a bite of it. And I think they know there's no money to be made in it because it's such a niche thing, you know. And I mean, these companies aren't stupid, you know. They're snowboard companies. They exist because, you know, they know that 2% of the snowboard population are the people who are really dedicated, who really love it, who are really into it. That's not who they make boards for. You know, they make boards for the people who go 3 times a year, you know, and they buy new gear every 2 years or whatever, you know. That's what keeps those companies afloat, you know. Like, so Powsurfing, it's like they got into that literally just as an advertising tool, you know. They're not even really doing it themselves, you know. They're just creating this product because that's what's hip right now. So it's like kind of almost the exact definition of a poser.
It's kind of like,
that's not a very nice thing for me to say, but it's like, I've just seen it happen over the years, and it's been really frustrating when people come in like that, when those companies come in like that and create a bunk product in the beginning, and they know it, you know, and it's like, they don't care, you know. They didn't care enough to put any R&D into making something that really worked in the first place. They just wanted to have something that they could advertise and that people would see and be like, wow, that company, they've got so much soul or whatever, you know. So it's
they've got they're off.
So it's been frustrating to see people come in and take bites of what a few people have worked so hard to do, you know, for so many years. But you know, you work so hard to create something, and as soon as it appears like profitable in some people's eyes, they'll jump right on it because they think they're gonna make a bunch of money, or it's gonna be the next hot thing or whatever, you know. And it's, the reality of it is it's there's just not enough of a population to sustain something like that, you know. Like I say, it's like your average person isn't going to go pow surfing, you know. It takes like a dedicated snowboarder, a dedicated skier, someone who's really, really wants it, you know, because you got to work for it. You got to go out and find the waves. You got to hike. You got to figure out the backcountry and the side country. It doesn't just come easy. It's not like you can just shell out what's a lift ticket nowadays, $150 and then get spoon fed some powder or whatever. It doesn't work that way. So it's like, I think those people who thought they were going to make, you know, a buck off it or whatever, they'll soon find out that they're not. Or in the case of some of these snowboard companies, they're purely doing it they're working out of their advertising budget. You know, it's just another form of advertising so that they can sell their snowboards.
I love the fact that you've got a youth line. I mean, I think that's, I think the youth line's awesome, right? Because you got to get them while they're young.
Yeah.
Get them.
No, in fact, that's what I was, when you texted me, that's what I was doing, is I was laying up a bunch of the youth slashers that I make, little 120 centimeter things that are, those are designed for kids between 7 and 11. Okay. And then I've got another line underneath that, like a 110 centimeter for ages 2 to 6 or 7, you know?
Wow.
And then there's some like narrows and such that I make for ladies and kids, you know, boys who are maybe 12 to 15, you know, while they're still growing. So yeah, I make boards for everybody from 2 years old to 90 years old, or however old you want to be when you're pow surfing. Well, because it's that easy to do, you know, if you know how to sniff out the conditions and such, and it doesn't take much more than a small hill to do it and have a good time. Really easy to link turns, you know, like, and it feels amazing. You know, it's definitely going to be hard for you to do airs, you know, and kick flips and shove it's and some of the nonsense we do, and, you know, some of the big burly lines. Yeah, that stuff's hard, but like for your average person just to get on and link turns, it's pretty easy. And it's such an amazing feeling that everybody should feel that, you know, and for the youth, it's such a good way to teach kids real balance, you know?
Yeah.
And if they have real balance, like they're going to be able to snowboard. I mean, I always tell people that have kids, like, teach your kid how to skateboard and then he can do anything. He or she can do anything. You know, skateboarding is hard. It takes like a lot of dedication. It takes a lot of work and a lot of slams and a lot of not giving up, you know, like it's, and once, you know, if that's the type of thing you've trained yourself on and you've learned to have fun and get past those obstacles, like you can literally do anything, you know, like, I don't know. So like Powsurfing in the snow world, like that's kind of like your skateboarding. Like it's a perfect way to teach kids proper balance and then ease them into the backcountry and side country and help them learn about snow and weather and being safe in the backcountry. And, you know, it gives them a super good foundation, teaches them to work for something. There's a reward, you know, you work for it, you get that reward. You don't give up, you know, you keep going. And so, yeah, it's a really good learning experience, I think. And I made those even before I had kids, you know. I figured, you know, my buddies' kids are going to want to ride these things, so I better make little kids boards. So yeah, Powsurfing's for anybody and everybody. Like, don't ever let anyone tell you that it's too hard, because it's really not. It's more about, I mean, it's just like, you know, surfing. You just got to find the right conditions. Like, you got to learn a little bit of weather. You got to maybe go outside and watch and see where the snow is good. Learn how to see those clues from Mother Nature, and yeah, you find the right conditions and the right slope, and it's pretty easy to do, and it's incredibly fun.
Sounds like a lot of lessons can be learned from learning to powder surf.
Yeah, life lessons, not just snow lessons, but yeah. I mean, I always go back to skateboarding, like, because skateboarding like taught me more than anything in life, and taught me that, you know, you're gonna fall down a lot. It's probably gonna hurt too, a lot. And you just get back up and you keep trying until you get what you were after, and that applies to everything in life.
So you were talking about terrain, and I know you've got another product that helps you open up the terrain possibilities, the split surfer. So how long have you been working on that product?
That's been since, it's been 9 years. No, let's see, it's been 11 years. Yeah,
it's almost right away.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The first Powsurfer I ever made, I turned that into a split surfer a year and a half later. And so that was my first split surfer. That would have been back in 08, 09, I think. Hang on one second.
Yeah.
So this is a split surfer. This is one I just made a couple months ago. So yeah, these things are awesome for getting as deep as you want into the backcountry and going wherever you want. And they weigh maybe a pound, a little bit over a pound more than the standard boards.
Okay.
And same 3-dimensional base. And then we got I designed a binding as well to go with it. This one uses the Spark interface, which is super handy and quick. And so these bindings slide right in here.
Oh,
you can see that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll pull the pin here, turn it into skis, click the binding on, throw the skins on, and away you go. And so these bindings, like this is an example of the bindings. So yeah, they pack down to next to nothing. So, you know, you got a package about that big.
Wow.
No sense in putting like a pair of snowboard bindings on your back, you know, for the ride down. You could if you want. It's just a whole lot of weight and extra things to carry.
Yeah.
So yeah, I designed the bindings to go with them as well. And then there's a couple different kinds of skins that fit that we sell as well. So yeah, it's a pretty awesome tool.
Is that a pretty hot seller? You find a lot of people are going for that?
Nah, not so much. Like more and more it is. I pretty much build those on a custom basis for the most part. Like I'll take pre-orders in the summer, and the early fall, give people like a month or 2 month window to make an order, so they can pick, what graphic they want, what size, which board. I offered like 2 or 3 of the shapes. I mean, all in all, the solid shapes, there's probably 20 different shapes and sizes. But for the splits, I offer, I think there's 7 different shapes and sizes that I'll make that are the most compatible with the design. So yeah, I usually do a pre-order basis. So, I'll sell maybe 10 in a year or something like that. And then this year I made an extra, I think I made an extra 10 on top of what had been pre-sold. And I don't even list them on the website or whatever, but people see them or see some of the videos of us riding them, and they'll send me emails and they'll be like, oh yeah, I do have one. And so, I'll sell those other 10 too during the year. It's about, after it's shipped and everything, it's like $1,200. So it's an investment, It
is, yeah.
So it takes someone it's usually people who, are split snowboarders. They know the benefits, they're used to doing it, and they know that it's actually a small price to pay compared to what they pay,
Yeah.
Like, for a good split board setup with the poles and the bindings and skins and everything, it'll run you $1,500 at least. So they're used to having things be a little more expensive, and these are really difficult for me to make. I could make one with a flat base, no problem, real easy. But when it comes to doing it with a 3D base, it's a whole different story. So they're really difficult to make, and I really have to kind of turn my shop upside down for a few months to build those. So I don't build those all year. That's why I do them on a pre-order basis, because they're just so time consuming and expensive to make. They've got proper inserts, and they've got carbon in them to stiffen them up and strengthen them. And there's just a lot that goes into making a 3-dimensional pair of skis come together and fit into a 3-dimensional Powsurfer. So,
but it seems like if you're gonna, it seems like it's, like you mentioned, well worth the investment. And now you have opened your possibilities up.
Yeah.
To where you can go and catch these waves.
It's an awesome tool for sure. And we sell a few other accessories too. There's a Drift Approach skis that's a company out of Utah as well. We sell those on our website, and those are great. They're just an approach ski about that long, fits on your back. They're super light, just nice tools. You can get on a skin track same way. The beauty of that is you could, maybe you have 3 Powsurfers, you pick which one you want, or you ride your snowboard or whatever. You're not with a split board, you're married to that board.
Sure.
That's what you're going up on. That's what you're coming down on. If you have the approach skis or a pair of verts are another snowshoe type of accessory that we sell on our website as well. Like with those two ascent options, you can pick whatever you want from your quiver. And there's a lot to be said for something like that, because conditions are always changing and the boards are so different between the shapes and the sizes. There's certain boards that just rip in the shallow pow or variable pow. And then there's other boards that you'd want to be riding when it was, a foot plus, where the other boards would be sinking in that. The shallow powder boards wouldn't necessarily be ideal for, a 1.5 foot is fresh powder, and vice versa. The boards that are made to float in a lot of deep dry powder are not going to be that great when it's shallow snow or variable or wind buff. So the quiver really helps you. Any surfer knows the power of a quiver, and it's really much the same with Powsurfing. So that's why those other options are a really good thing to have too.
How would you know what shape to pick, or what do you have a a diagram that explains this board works well, or this shape works well in these conditions? Or?
Right. Yeah. So as it is right now, you'd get on the website and you'd look at each particular model, and there would be a description. More or less, it kind of tells you, the ideal boot size and weight for this particular board and model. And if it's one that excels in thicker, wetter snow, like in the Northwest, more coastal areas, it would tell you that, or vice versa. If it's something that's more of a deep powder gun, or if it's kind of somewhere in between, that usually comes up in the description. I would really like to develop a type of board finder, where people could just type in, I'm 170 pounds. I ride in Oregon and, ride this many days a year. This is my boot size. And then it could kind of line you up with 2 or 3 different options. Cause usually like any person could have 3 different boards in their quiver that would work really great for them, depending on the conditions or the environment they're riding in. So if people do have questions, they can just contact me directly via email or Instagram message. I help people find the right board all the time. And, that's the thing when you go to Grassroots, like you're talking to me, you're not talking to some intern or something, or, like you'll actually get personal help, and I can line you up with what's going to be best for you, or even 3 or 4 options of boards that are going to work really good for you. So I encourage people if they're having trouble, just shoot me an email or message me, and I can help you line you right up. So.
And what are those? What are your contacts?
So powsurf.com is the website, and then Powsurf is the Instagram handle. Powsurf is the Twitter handle. YouTube /Powsurf. I think all of my handles are Powsurf, so that's pretty easy. Yeah. And then Powsurf, yeah. Instagram message is a pretty good way to get a hold of me. And then Jeremy at powsurf.com is my email. So, or info at Powsurf. All of it comes to me. So
nice, very nice.
So yeah, I can reach out, and I'm happy to help.
Are you releasing any videos or?
Yeah. I release every month or 2. I release another episode of the Powsurf Chronicles. That's something I've been doing for almost 10 years now, probably. I think we're on like number 18 or something like that. So I just released one, I think yesterday or the day before, from a little session we had in Japan. Just off the side of the road, there was these little pillow lines and such. So I think it's called Japounce, I think is what I called it. But yeah, I release those pretty regularly. If I don't, it's because I'm just slammed and so busy that I don't have enough time to release one. But I'm always, if you follow like the Instagram, especially, I keep, I post videos, a few a week, short clips of a minute or less. And then eventually all the chronicles will be up on Instagram TV as well. But currently they're all on, if you go to our website, powsurf.com/videos, you can watch anything I've ever made. And there's probably like 50 videos or so at least on there, maybe more. The YouTube channel, I believe it's youtube.com/powsurf, or it might be /grassrootspowsurf. I can't remember. It's been too long. But you could search it and find it, no problem. So anyways, if you're on the YouTube account, there's probably 100 videos on there. There's all the chronicles. There's a bunch of other shorts. There's what I call the quiver videos, the Powsurf diaries is another one, which I'll take out a certain board or some backcountry equipment and kind of talk a little bit about it in the description, show us riding it and describe how it's riding, what the snow is like that on that particular day. So it's kind of a good way to see what boards are going to work in what types of conditions.
Yeah, very.
And those are shorter, like 1 to 2 minute videos. The Powsurf Chronicles are usually like 3 or 4 minutes, maybe 5 max. And they're the most polished, I guess. The Chronicles are. They're the most polished, like production wise, I think. And then the diaries are a little bit more raw, but still pretty polished. And then the Instagram stuff is usually like clips or like, a few clips edited or whatever, afternoon of riding or something. And it's not always just me and the boys. It's you know, we repost a lot of stuff. I mean, people are riding our boards all over the world. So like, if you follow our stories and everything, I try to re-put out most people's stories who tag us, and you know, just to show that this is happening all over the world. You know, it's not just a couple of yahoos in Utah, but there is quite a few yahoos in Utah doing it now. But it's not just us. There's the whole world doing it, and it's pretty awesome. So that way people can see, you know, it's in the beginning people are like, oh, you have to be in Utah with perfect powder, which was ridiculous, of course. But it did take like people in the Northwest a while to finally catch on. You know, I still get emails and they're like, oh, I live in Oregon. I don't know if it's really possible. Our snow's wet. Yeah. It's like, well, of course it's possible. Here's like the 2 boards that would be awesome for you. And then of course they try it and then they're stoked. But, you know, in the beginning, a lot of people just didn't believe it was going to work for them or that it was even possible. You know, I sell boards all over the world, and East Coast, Midwest, like all over the place. Like I'm pretty surprised at some of the places I end up sending boards to, but yeah, powder happens all over the place, and it doesn't take a huge mountain. So it's really pretty accessible for a lot of people. You just gotta be willing to go get it.
Very cool, Jeremy. Well, thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Please like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell so you know when we put new videos out. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Brain Aqua. This has been AquaBrain TV. Remember to keep your head up and keep those knees bent.